Welcome to DIYEasyCrafts.com, how to make your own Halloween pumpkin out of any firewood log. Now I started this project just with a small log taken out of my firewood stack. This one happens to be pine, and I chose it because it had kind of an orangish tint to the wood. What we're going to do is slice off, 2 or 3 inches thick slices off of the log with a chainsaw, and then using a jigsaw and a couple other tools, carve them into some very nice Halloween jack-o'-lantern or Halloween pumpkins. It's a very easy process. You start by, of course, slicing the wood into whatever thickness you'd like. Don't go too thick because it gets hard to cut through. I ended up drilling holes through each one of the cavities, the eyes and the nose and the mouth, and then I'm just going to use a jigsaw to cut out each, the eyes and the nose and the mouth. I did have to go out and buy an extra long jigsaw blade, which are available at Home Depot. I found them. I bought the 5-inch jigsaw blades, and that did the trick very nicely. Even with brand new blades, this wood was a little tough to cut. It's not a hard wood, but maybe just because of the thickness, it did take a little while to cut out each one of these jack-o'-lanterns. You just basically take your time. Draw whatever shapes you want on the wood. I use the black Sharpie Magic marker, and then you just cut it out with the jigsaw. Once the basic shape is cut out, and of course, the eye cavities and the nose and the mouth and all that is completely cut out, then I'm going to move over to a disc grinder to round over all of the hard edges and to smooth out those hard edges around the diameter so that it just looks more like a pumpkin. I'm using a very coarse grit flap sanding disc on the disc grinder. I think I'm using a 40 grit, so that goes through this material very quickly, and I'm just rounding over the edge. You don't have to be an artist to make these things. At the same time, with the disc grinder, I did clean up the whole outside diameter, so I got rid of all the bark and cleaned it off to the point that you could stain it or oil it. And this process doesn't take long at all. Now, after the disc grinder, I did sand the entire face of the jack-o'-lantern, as well as I rounded the edges a little bit better, and I really smoothed everything out. I started with an 80 grit sandpaper, and I went up to, I think it was 220. I really wanted it to look almost like a finished piece of furniture rather than, a cut-off log. Now, the next step, I went to a Dremel grinder, and this is just a cut-off wheel on the Dremel grinder, and I'm just adding some lines to illustrate the segments of a pumpkin. So it's really just curved lines. You can see I'm just pivoting my hand so that I'm drawing a fairly even arc in order to create those segment lines. This is, again, another very fast process. You don't have to cut real deep with this cut-off tool. You're just really scratching a line on the surface. Just the visual impression of the segment lines found on pumpkins. Basically, we're almost done. One of the last steps, or the next step, is to drill a hole in the very top of the pumpkin, and then I used a 3/4 inch hole, and I found a stick that was approximately 3/4 of an inch, and just for the stem, I glued that stick into the hole. And you could drill that hole at an angle, you could drill it straight down, however you want to illustrate the stem. And the last step is, at this point, you could certainly paint this, or you could stain it, you could polyurethane it. I really just chose to use oil, and I used a cutting board oil. You just pour it on, very thick coat. The wood soaks up this oil, so you give it a good coat, covering every part of the wood, and you walk away for 15 or 20 minutes, and then you do it one more time, and then after another 15 or 20 minutes, you wipe it all off. What I liked about the oil is that the finished product really had a nice orange tint to it. Really represents an orange color of a pumpkin pretty well. And that's basically it. It's a very easy to make Halloween pumpkin, that very nice indoor decoration. You can make them in a variety of different sizes based on the size of the logs that you have available. And I'm sure you can end up with different colors based on the different types of wood that you could possibly use. I actually branded my initials onto the back side of this. I'll post a link to a video on wood branding. And these are some images of the finished products. Now, please check us out on the web at DIYEasyCrafts.com. Be sure to check out our other how-to videos. And if you like this video, I ask that you please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this YouTube channel.